Most of my work these days involves being a detective, looking for these sources of environmental variation that are beyond the control of the individual. So you really have to be sort of on the lookout for these unique opportunities where there's a sort of treatment and control group, like the Vietnam draft lottery. There's a source of environmental variation, exposure to the draft and war or not, that's totally beyond the control. It's as if it were done with a white coat in a lab. One of my earliest public policy memories or moments was in the 70s when I used to see, or my mother would point out, old folks buying cat food in the, or dog food in the supermarket, and she would nudge me and whisper in my ear that they don't have a cat or a dog, but most likely that they're eating themselves because they're poor. Then a few years later, I didn't say that anymore, and only college or after college did I read that Richard Nixon drastically raised the Social Security levels and then pegged it to cost of living, and it really eliminated the kind of elder poverty that I saw when I was a kid. And I thought, wow, that's powerful that he could do that just with a stroke of a pen. These are paintings by my father. The bottom one, I don't know if you can tell, is a portrait of me. This would be my eyes, this is my nose, chin, mouth, I don't know if you can see it now. The top is a drawing by him. Most people think it's maybe a pregnant woman or something, or they don't know what it is. It's actually a drawing of a penis. You know, old ladies would come in, that's a really pretty flower. My first major piece of research, my dissertation, was about black-white wealth differences, that is, differences in levels of net worth, as opposed to income levels. How much people own minus all their debts, that's their net worth. And the black-white difference in net worth is enormous. It's on the order of tenfold, whites having a tenfold advantage over blacks, which dwarfs income differences, which are about 70 cents to the dollar, or education differences, or occupation differences, or unemployment differences. Just by far the single biggest racial disparity in the United States, and is growing since the civil rights era, not shrinking. This is the engine of continued racial inequality in the post-civil rights era. Inequalities tend to sort of get reinforced or emerge no matter what the new technological system is. There's no technological solution, in other words, to social inequality. I'm very down on sociology, I should say. A lot of sociology goes ahead and shows that people living in poor neighborhoods have worse health, and say, well, see, neighborhoods cause poor health. Poor neighborhoods cause poor health, without considering that a lot of people are shifting in and out of neighborhoods, and it's not random, and we have to think more carefully about what really is causing what here. The genome's been decoded, and the whole genetics movement is, and the medicalization of everything, that movement is so strong, we're really at risk of being completely irrelevant and marginalized unless we really can refine our scientific methods to contribute something meaningful to these debates. This is the proverbial meat grinder that I put my students through. I don't have any students or meat to put in here right now, but this is my ideas board, where if I have a paper idea or just a little thought, I have to write it down, and I keep it here, and hopefully my kids don't come in and erase it all, because that's happened. My role in the Millennium Project, the UN Millennium Project, is to examine the issue of fertility. The fundamental environmental concern and economic development concern is reducing fertility in poor countries. And we find the biggest effect is of child mortality. So really solving the child mortality and infant mortality crisis in Africa, over and above anything else, over and above culture or the status of women or other things, will, we think, fix the problem. It is counterintuitive because a lot of policy officials and politicos immediately say, oh, all these kids are going to survive. You're actually exacerbating the population problem. Let nature take its course, or whatever you want to say. They may not say that explicitly, but that's what they're thinking or doing with their policies implicitly. And no, actually, it's this counterintuitive idea that if you get more children surviving, you have a short-term shock of more population, but in the long term, not even the long term, very medium term, 5 years, 10 years, you're going to turn the population issue around. I would argue most good social science probably raises more questions than it answers, so I don't feel like there's ever that time to crack the champagne. I think that's more of a myth in science, actually, that there's the light bulb over the head moment, or the apple dropping on Newton's head and eureka, I've got it. Maybe that occurs in some areas, certainly not in my area. I think it's more like coffee or something. You finish something to tank up again on caffeine to keep going to the next question that is raised.